Good morning, everyone. We are live, and it is Monday. It is Labor Day. Well, it is a Labor Day, meaning we take a rest from our work. And so, as we begin today, in this break, in this moment of relaxation, apply it also to your life, your spiritual life. When we take a break, what does it look like? What does it mean? It means you take a break from working so hard mentally. You know, what does it look like when you work so hard mentally? Like you're trying to force things to make them happen. We do not have to do that. So today, rest from that. Take a break from that. You see, a lot of people don't understand what Neville Goddard meant when he said, you do not have to lift a finger to make it so. It doesn't mean that you have a wish and you sit on the couch and it's going to fall in your lap. That's not what it means. It means every cause has its effect and every effect has its cause. So the effect that you want, which is the change that you want to experience, you simply begin to ask yourself, what would it be like if? Mind you, that is a question we always ask ourselves. What would it be like if? We always do that. So if you're asking, what would it be like if anyway? Well then, make sure it is the desired effect. Why? Because when you get a hold of the desired effect that you want to experience, you bring about the cause naturally, because every effect has its cause, which means you don't have to figure out, well, what should I do? How should I act? You don't have to figure it out. It unfolds for you in the only way that it can, because that effect that you want to experience has a cause. It doesn't say that you have to seek the cause. It says you have to choose the effect. Every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause, which absolves us of having to work to figure things out. For instance, if you are hungry, what will you naturally want to do? Eat. If you're thirsty, naturally you're going to want something refreshing to drink. If you are bored, then naturally you're seeking entertainment. So then, if you're bored, you're going to look for entertainment naturally, which means you're going to go do something. Just like you're going to go eat some food, drink some water. You don't have to figure out what to do when you're hungry. You know that you have to eat because that is the desire. That is the effect. And I'm not using that as an analogy because it's a cool analogy. I'm using it because it is an everyday thing. You see, we have to stop removing the principles from our everyday lives. The principles govern what we would call the mundane. You get up, you drink, you eat, you sleep. That may appear to be mundane, but in actuality, it is governed by the principles, by the law. This is why, if you feel lonely, then the naturalness from loneliness is companionship. You just genuinely want that. So, what happens if you say to yourself and you recognize, oh my God, I'm lonely? Well, naturally, you're going to want companionship. So, what do? You naturally go where people are. Now, here's how we hold ourselves back. Here's how we smother that natural action through fear. If you know that you are seeking companionship, but you are afraid to leave the house, then that desire for companionship will remain. It'll stay right where it is and it will nag you. But because of your fear, you stay frozen. You stay within the confines of your house. All the while being lonely and suppressing the natural desire to fulfill loneliness, which is to go somewhere, meet people, hang out with people, which brings about the satisfaction of companionship. It is just what you do naturally. Lots of people say, well, what inspired action can I take? Action is always inspired. I'll say it again. Action is always inspired. How? The moment you say who you are, well, I am, ... You will act upon that naturally. So you see, take a rest from fighting so much. You do not have to fight or struggle to figure things out. The principles, and I've said it before and I will say it again. You cannot ever get the principles wrong because it is how we are designed. You cannot get the principles wrong. Every cause is going to have an effect, and every effect is going to have a cause. You can't get that wrong. You cannot mess that up because you're always choosing an effect. Thereby, the cause will always materialize. And if you know the cause of something, you see exactly what that effect will be. So you cannot get it wrong. You only get the principles correct. You only get the principles correct. Let that sink in for a moment. We only get the principles correct. If you keep seeing in your mind's eye, right? It's a very interesting thing where if we compare ourselves to others, you're doing yourself a disservice. You are you, your own unique expression. That's what you are. So if you look to the left or to the right and say, yeah, but their expression is better than mine, that is their expression. You will always be left wanting if you compare yourself to someone else. So you have to decide what success means to you. You have to decide what success means to you, which means you're going to have to sit and think about that for a moment. You see, we don't always take time to think. Yeah? We don't always take the time to think. We want to rush around, right? We want to rush and rush, but slow down. Take your time. This is the beauty of what we've been given. So let's expand upon the fact that you can only get it right. Which means if you wallow in self-pity, you are perpetuating your own pain. Whether you want to believe me or not is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with belief. Observe what you're doing. Observe how you feel. Observe how you speak to yourself and pay attention to the effect of what that conversation, that mental conversation has upon you. And you'll see you're only ever getting it right. How do you know you're always getting it right? Because when you plant, you reap. But this is just what happens. So banish from your mind. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. Of course you do. You see, this is the beauty of living, you know. It truly is. There are some who will say, well, yeah, I got a hard life. Eh, that is an observation. So if you observe your present situation, just look at it. Just look at it. I didn't ask you to look at it and give me your opinion about it. Oh man, it sucks. Just look at it. And once you look at it, do you want to keep it? Or do you want to use something else? Do you want to keep it? Or do you want to use something else? It's a simple answer. And that's usually I want to keep it. No, I want to use something else. So if you say you want to use something else, you must define what that something else is. You might not be able to put it into words, okay, but you do know how you want to feel. You know how you want to feel. So then that's what you do. You start there with what it is you want to feel. Once you have decided upon what you want to feel, then the cause emerges. And you do the cause. Because cause and effect go together. I keep telling you, you don't have to figure it out. If you are unemployed, what is the natural thing for you? To become gainfully employed. So to become gainfully employed, what must one do? Seek. So if your role, if you're going to seek a job, well, then you narrow it down because there are many to choose from, regardless of what the economy says. You see, when we look outside and we say, oh my God, the economy sucks, there's no jobs, nobody's hiring. Right? That would be something some people would say right off the bat. But if you remember, the outcome of seeking is finding, or else why would you seek in the first place? Remember that everything goes towards satisfaction, which means if you seek, you will find. If you ask, you will get an answer. These are not just cool colloquialisms that we say on a daily basis. They have their merit in the principles, in the law. This is what they do. So if you do not have a job, then naturally the next course or inspired action would be to search for one. But to make your life easier, well, what do you like? You don't just want any job. What do you like? What do you want to be doing? Well, then that's where you narrow your focus to. You hone in on it. And once you define what it is that you want, because you can see it, you know that there is, you know that it's there, Because you do not see it yet does not mean it doesn't exist. You are seeking that particular thing, you will find it. You'll find it. And it's not a matter of trying to be cute. You'll find it. You know, the old people will tell you, don't go looking for trouble. Don't go looking for trouble. Why not? Because if you're looking for trouble, you'll find it. And we think that that's just something cool to say. No, everything has its basis in the law and works according to law. That's what it means when I tell you, you are only going to get it right. Even if you're hungry and you're out with your girlfriends, you know, all those chicks in that car will drive around trying to figure out what to eat, where to go. But you do know they will make a decision based upon what? The hunger. They know they're hungry and they know they've got to eat because that is the natural outcome, the fulfillment of the hunger. So move it up, then use the principle of correspondence. As above now, so below. So if below the hunger is to be satiated, well, then that should tell you if you move it above, it does not stay limited to a physical hunger. If there is a curiosity, which is a psychological hunger, the wanting to know something, well, you will come across finding that thing that you want to know. And the hunger, the curiosity is fulfilled because you will have learned something. Now you say learn. I think they're saying the teachers are going to go on strike. And you know me, right? I had to jump in there. And I'm like, dude, mother is the first teacher. Mother is the first teacher. But somehow we've been convinced that we lack the qualification to teach our children. I said, okay, so if teachers go on strike, do children stop learning? No, because our natural desire is to learn. Our natural desire is to learn. You see, back in the day, children learned how to run a business. They sure did. We're talking way back in the day. They learned how to run the family business. So they had to learn customer service, how to speak to customers, right? They had to learn marketing. Well, how can I make this appealing so that people will buy it? I know they like it, but you got to stay at the forefront of their minds. They learned how to market. So they gave out free samples of their wares. They did things, to stroke the embers and curiosity of their clientele. They had to learn how to keep things clean, sanitary. There was a whole bunch, and what, that's not learning? Of course, it is the height of learning. It is the height of learning. So there's never a moment that we do not learn. We are always learning. And what's the first thing they tell you is, you don't know algebra. If you think about it, algebra is the solving of an equation. An equation, they just have it on the board as a plus b equals this, and what's the value of y. But ponder it now. The equation is psychological. What should I do in this life situation? That is an equation that you have to solve. So the solving of an equation on the board in mathematics is just mathematics. But bring it up to a higher level. What you're actually learning is how to solve the equation to your problem that you presently have. So great, you can do trigonometry. Great, you can solve for y. You can solve for the value of x on paper. But can you extrapolate on it and use it in real life, in real time? We are always seeking the value of x all day, every day. We're always seeking the value of x. We're trying to solve something. So the ability to think is what is actually being taught, not to solve the equation. It's not the equation that's the thing. The ability to think. Because if you can think, you can solve the equation, you know. But we limit it to mathematics. But in actuality, mathematics is all around us on a daily basis. My son was never a fan of textbooks, ever. I learned this the hard way. He's not a fan of textbooks. But because he enjoys cooking, he learns his fractions and he learned about money all from cooking. Because you've got to measure. You have to know what a half is. And I always said to him, well, if you don't have a half cup, you know, the 1-over-2, if you don't have that, what else can you use to get a half? I pulled out the quarter cup. I said, you can use 2 of these and you're going to get a half a cup. I said, but what if you don't have a quarter cup or a half cup? But you got a tablespoon? 4 tablespoons are going to give you a quarter. 8 tablespoons are going to give you a half. And so this is what I mean when I say we are always learning. Always. But the way the student learns also depends upon the teacher. They work in tandem. They work together as a unit. So if the teacher comes to work absolutely hating their job because the government is shafting them and they got to buy supplies for these kids, they got to babysit these kids, and they come to work and they are annoyed. Well, then a kid chewing gum a little too loudly is going to annoy them. Get out! And now what happens? Now they both annoy each other. Does the child learn? Nah, because the teacher's not in the mood to teach. So teaching and learning depend upon the mental attitude as well. If you have a true joy of learning, you are just gonna learn, okay? Because there's something about that mental attitude. There's something about the mental attitude. What is it? The mental attitude determines the action you will take. So if your mental attitude is of, yay, I get to learn, woohoo, well, nothing will stop you from learning. And learning is a pleasure. The more pleasure you take in something, the better you learn it. Well, that's part of our design. This is why we tend to lean towards the things that feel good. So, take a rest this Labor Day and stop struggling and trying to figure things out. The life we live is every day. So our practice must also be daily. Well, you're living every day, son. So you got to practice every day. How do you practice? You practice, first of all, by memorizing the 7 principles. Because once you memorize them, you're going to use rote memory. Once you memorize them, mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Just memorize them. Because now once you've memorized them, you'll begin to see them everywhere. Because now you know what you're looking at. Someone asked, what does it mean that consciousness is the only reality? What happens if you're unconscious? If you are unconscious, you are unaware of where you are. You don't know who's around you. You don't know who's talking to you because you can't hear. You're unconscious. You passed out. You are unconscious, which means you have no bearing on what your surroundings are. You do not know. So obviously, to be conscious is to know who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. That is the principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Which means you are always going to know that you exist. Because look at the flip side. If you pass out, you're walking the mall and you pass out, you faint, you've lost consciousness. You've lost the awareness of yourself, knowing where you are. That is all consciousness means. You just have to look at it. It's a simple thing. So now that you know you're conscious, you are aware. Now what are you aware of? Which means you've got to recognize how you feel. Recognize what you are doing on a daily basis. Oh, but that's so much to remember. But remember how it shows up. It's not that it's a lot to remember if you can grasp how it shows up. It shows up by the way you do things. And how do we do things? Habitually. We keep saying it. We are creatures of habit. Like that. When I just said that, I remembered the guy who came into the liquor store the other day. It was raining. He was riding his motorbike and he came in. I said, we meet again. He says, why did you say it like that? I feel some type of way. I said, sir, do you not watch movies? And when he left, he goes, I'll be back. And I said, that's more like it. And he's like, well, you just brought me back to the fact that I love movies. And I'm like, yes, I know, right? I said, there's always a line. And I'm like, oh, fancy meeting you in a place like this. Why did I tell you that? Because a word triggered me. That's why I totally deviated, but I digress. We are always in a situation of learning and growing and self-observation. Always. It is just what we do. So you're always going to be aware of yourself, who you are. Now, today is Labor Day. Go out and enjoy some good company. It depends on where you are and what you're doing, of course. I don't like crowds. I'm not a fan of crowds, but I'm going to do something. I don't know what yet. The house is quiet. So I'm probably going to go back to bed. Because I don't have to go to work, but I still have things to do, but I want to rest a little bit more. Take your time as you learn. Learning is not something that is forced. Learning happens naturally. It happens naturally. And we don't ever stop learning. You might think that you're not learning anything new, but you are. All day, every day. But you see, if we look at the principle of polarity, and where learning falls, teacher, student. That's it. So now look at polarity. Remember what polarity is. The movement of one thing as it becomes something else. But it's not becoming something else as in randomness. It is becoming something else in its nature. So the seed becomes the fruit. Same in its nature. Guava becomes guava. So student is the seed. Teacher is the fruit. So you're just moving through stages of learning. And there's some things that you master. Right? Always just remember so that when you watch yourself, you can see what you're doing. And you will not disguise love for hate or hate for love. You will know if there's a root of bitterness within you or not, because it cannot be hidden. So if you're living through the principles, you're going to see it. You will know where this spring comes from within your spirit. You'll know because you're observing yourself. So you see, my beautiful friends, learning is beautiful, is it not? Yes, it is. You get to choose your lessons. Oh, yes, you get to choose your lessons. Lessons are effects. Lessons are effects, and every effect has its cause. So you're going to learn. So you may as well learn happily. What would be the point of just dragging? You're going to learn, so you might as well enjoy learning. Because you not only will you learn more as you have fun learning, right? Not only are you going to learn more, but you will also retain what you've learned so that you can apply it every day. But if you hate what you're learning, you don't even want to be there. And then it's like, ugh, you didn't remember a thing. And then you get frustrated at yourself, talking about, oh my God, I can't learn, my brain. Ugh. It's only because you're resisting. Well, then enjoy what you learn, and resistance will fade. Right? If you have a desire, the very moment the desire emerges, the desire is an effect, but it is also a cause. How so? The desire is the effect because of the mood that gave birth to it. But now the effect becomes a cause so that you will act. So you cannot think that your dream is far-fetched or impossible to accomplish. And I don't like the question of, well, what if I'm just being delusional? You use the principles, you'll realize real quick when you're being delusional. We are not Icarus, okay? We haven't glued any wings. You will always know. You will. But that's a fear, is it not? What if what if people think I'm nuts? I keep telling you these nuts. Like, You cannot want a desired effect, yet fear it and say, perhaps I'm crazy. Because the one that you feel to be true is the one that is. So take your time. Take your time. There's no rush because things move real slow in the 3D. They just do. Gravity, it slows things down. Allegedly, the Earth rotates at what? What is that speed? 272,000 kilometers per hour? Is that what it is? I'll have to look it up. But last time I checked, I think that's what I remember. Do you feel it though? Because you've got gravity. It's just a vibration. It just moves slower. It is, in order for matter to be, and for you to see matter, it has to be dense. The density of something means how heavy is it? So it's going to be weighted. So things move slow where we are. Like molasses. Oh, but molasses is tasty with a bit of lemon and some water. Oh, you got a most beautiful, refreshing drink. Oh, high in vitamin B. Oh, heavens, yes, but I digress. And a whole bunch of other minerals. But again, I digress. We move real slow. But it does not mean that we're not moving. So every time you ask, are we there yet? When is my stuff going to unfold? When is it going to happen for me? See that? You didn't think that molasses could move any slower, but that is the surefire way to make molasses go and slow down even more. Anyhow, the point of learning is to do. The point of learning is to do. When you learn something, you become that thing. And when you become the thing, you do it. So the outcome of learning is doing. I said to my son last night after he made supper, I said to him, I just hope you know that your rice is always perfect. Like it wasn't crunchy, it wasn't soggy, it was just right. And I asked him, do you know why it was just right? He said, because I follow the formula, mommy. Well, he said, because I follow the formula, mom. 2 to 1. Double water to the rice. 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. Low and slow, baby, on the temperature. There you go. Every single time. Every time. So what is the formula? The formula is the all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. So as you know yourself to be, this is what you will do. So as within, so without, as above, so below. Somebody said yesterday, because I was in a room yesterday and on one of these social audio apps, and people were talking about astrology and how um, astrology shapes you. And I thought to myself, but astrology is outside. So it is you who shapes astrology. Oh, oh my. It is you who shapes it. You. Your energy signature. is who shapes it. So if you're a gloomy Gus or you're a perky Betty, you're shaping the world around you. You're not just shaping. See, this is the thing with the principles: as above, so below. As below, so above. They always have to correspond. So you're not just influencing your immediate world around you with people, you are influencing the upper as well. But that's for another day. That's for another day, totally. But just know that you are the one. You. So just take your time to observe who and what you are. Right? Just take that time. Just take that time. Who and what are you? What direction do you want to go in? That's all on you. But we don't trust ourselves. You know, as I've told you before, there's 2 times you will recognize something. You're going to learn your inner voice in one of 2 ways, but always in those 2 ways. Oh man, I should have listened. Or you'll say, whew, I'm sure glad I listened. It doesn't matter which one. You've just learned the sound of your inner voice, which is you. If you heard go left and you went right, you're going to say, oh, shoot, I should have listened, man. Listen to what? Your inner guidance. So once you start recognizing what it is, what it feels like, and that's the time you'll do it because that's the most potent time. I should have listened. Oh, I'm glad I listened. Right there, that instance, in that instance, you've just learned the sound and the feel of your inner self. So now you practice listening and feeling because if you go back to it, you'll remember what it felt like. And because you remember what it felt like, you'll know what you'll know what it feels like when it comes up again. And you won't have to question it. You won't have to, is it really me? Because you will know. And I told you that because as humanity, we've been convinced not to trust that. Oh, what if I hear voices and they tell me to do bad things? Hello? Well, obviously, we are walking around in a soup of thought. Everybody's thoughts are projected outward. We're walking around in a soup of thoughts. So you're going to pass through the cloud of somebody else's thoughts, just like that guy at the library who crop dusted us. You're gonna you're gonna have to walk through the fog of everybody else's thoughts. That's why you got to know what your own thoughts are. I don't think I'll ever forget that. My son looked at me. I looked at him. I said, "What in the hell?" We never moved so fast in our lives. But I digress. See, that's what we do. We walk through this fog or soup of everybody else's thoughts. It's just what we do because thoughts are projected outward and we can't see them, but you know they're there because you feel them. Oh, where'd that come from? That's not mine. You'll know your own thoughts and how they make you feel. You'll know. Anywho, who's with us today? Well, the better man. Hello, sir. It is good to see you, as always, in these YouTube streets. Twitter, well, Twitter is as Twitter is. Oh, I gotta open my eyes now to look at my phone because it's like bright. It's bright. Who's here with us today? Oh, KZ, my sweet darling. And Flo Smiles. Hey, girl. Ray Ray is in the house. Summer Rose is here. Oh, Big Mike is here too. Oh, Ricky. I see you. Thank you all for being here. And I trust that as we go through this Labor Day, that we will take a rest from fighting so much in our mind's eye. Because if you fight within, you'll be fighting on the outside. To the whatever level of intensity the fight is on the inside, is the intensity of the fight on the outside. Because rhythm always compensates, which simply means as within, so without. Its correspondence. So not only do what you have inside must be on the outside, it's projected on the outside, but the way in which you feel it, with the intensity that you feel it, that is how quickly or slowly it goes to the outside and you experience it. So if you're real angry on the inside, well then, what do you think is going to be on the outside? Anywho, just practice, because that is the outcome. Remember, I told you, rehearse who you say you are. Rehearse that. That one simple scene. If that one simple scene is, oh my God, that's amazing. If that's what you would naturally do, well, then rehearse that. Because it is the rehearsal of the scene that implies the fulfillment of it. Hmm? So the more you rehearse, now it becomes second nature. So as you go out into the world, the thing that you have rehearsed, you get to do, which means you're going to have that experience. So do you have to fret? No. Do you have to worry? No. Why not? Because the outcome of rehearsal is enactment. So how quickly will you be enacting? That depends upon the person doing the rehearsal. How quickly can you memorize your lines? Not only that, that's only part of the equation, but how convincing to the audience are you with those lines? See, because once you move the audience and they believe you, well, then you've done it. And then that's it. You're convincing yourself. Mental impregnation. You're laying down a psychological pathway in your brain. Well, neurological. That's all you're doing. So practice. Just practice. Just practice. Because that's why we learn. So we can do. So when you're just learning, you practice until you're not practicing anymore. You've become it. But that goes for anything in your life. It goes for everything in your life. That's why I give it to you generally, as opposed to specific, because I don't know your specific or individual problem. You know it, though. I don't need to know it. You know it. And all it is a role that you've been rehearsing this whole time. You want to be in a different play where you're going to have to learn a new scene. You can't take your old character into your new scene because it's not the same thing. The lines aren't the same. You can't take to be or not to be. Well, maybe you might be able to take it into the Matrix. Don't think you are, know you are. Like, not the same thing. So you've got to rehearse your new lines so that you can be in your new play. And what's the play? Your life. Funny that it's called a play. Isn't play fun? Is play not fun? Well, if play was not fun, nobody be talking about, we need more foreplay in our lives. We'd be talking about that. Because we'd recognize how fun play is. And your life is a play. You get to decide. Is it a comedy, a tragedy, a documentary? You decide. So that means you're going to have to rehearse the starring role. And it's only just one line. You don't have to write the whole play. The play is writing itself because you are choosing the one phrase that tells you this play is a masterpiece. That reminds me of The Mask when he goes, they like me. Or is it they love me? They love me. They really, really love me. When he had the Oscar. You just got to pick a scene. And we're good at that. We're always picking scenarios. So what's the scenario? Here we go. We're always picking a scenario. So pick a scenario that moves you, something that you would do naturally. Step 1, identify what it is that you want to change. Step 2, what would you be doing in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be? Well, then be like the dancer and watch yourself as you rehearse. Because you've got to be doing it. You just can't be sitting there and not doing it. You've got to do it because you would be doing it naturally. So you got to rehearse what you'd be doing. And once you rehearse and you rehearse, lose yourself in your rehearsal. Why? You're not just doing it willy-nilly. You're losing yourself in it because you know the inevitability. You know that the outcome of rehearsal is enactment. And that is why you do it. So, my beautiful friends, let us go forth and enjoy this relaxing Labor Day. Isn't it supposed to be take a break from Labor Day? But you know what? Because the labor is to work. We can take a rest from it, though. I'm going to give my brain and my mouth a rest. See, that made some of you happy. She done talking now? Yes, I am. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I will see you on the morrow. Oh, yes. 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Fanbase. Yes. You know I'll see you.